Hello, fellow hunters and outdoor enthusiasts, and welcome to In the Wild Outdoors with Bren and Jesse. I am co-host, singer-songwriter Bryn Hill, sometimes hunting guide, here with co-host, bush pilot, hunting guide, and owner of Saddlehorn Outfitters, Jesse Tatman of Daniel, Wyoming. And we are going to bring you again stories and real-time insight on all things West, and particularly Western big game hunting. This is the Wild Outdoors. Well, welcome back to In the Wild Outdoors. Welcome, brother. You know, I've been a rambling man lately.
Where you been?
I've been all over the West, and most recently I've been to Texas, where I played at the Lone Star Cowboy Poetry Gathering in Alpine. You flew down there.
I did. That's a great show down there. Man, that was amazing. I flew over there.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, brought my mom over there to watch it.
Yeah, that was fun. And I think, is that the first time I met Shauna?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had shows with Trinity Seeley, Andy Hedges, Kristen Harris, Joel Nelson. I had a show with Joel Nelson, Ross Knox, the Packer, and Randy Riemann, who's a horseman legend. And that one was called Straight Riding Job. It was in the auditorium. And, man, it was one of my favorite shows. Right before that, I did a show with Trinity, Deanna McCall, and Amy Hale. And it was sprung upon me. It was supposed to be an all-women's show called The Female Species. But one of the artists, Pat Frolander, couldn't make it. So they said, can you fill in on this? They didn't tell me the title of the show. And so they introduced me as Pat Frolander, which I was obviously very much not. But I was the token male with three very, very strong ranch women. And I told them, you know, before we started that, you can tease me the whole show because I'm just old enough that all female attention is effective.
Yeah.
But it was really a good time. No, Alpine's a great time. You should come down to that. Happens in February at Alpine, Texas, which is in the Davis Mountains down there in the Big Bend country. And no, it's a good time. But it's application season, and I think we better give these folks some news, you know, some info.
Yeah. So, you know, I used to guide down there in the Davis Mountains.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
I knew that, yeah.
Joe Jacob. Yeah, got it all that down there. It's a great place.
Yeah,
love that place.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we need to go over some news for these folks. So it is application season. We got a lot going on. Colorado application begin March 1st. Deadline is April 1st. Results will be in late May.
Mm-hmm.
And then Nevada applications begin March 24th. Draw deadline is May 7th. And 11 p.m. Pacific time. Results released by May 23rd.
I got a question for you in Nevada.
Yeah.
Nevada, if I recall, squares your bonus points. Is that right?
No, that's incorrect. Okay. Nevada, for every bonus point you have, you get put into the draw.
I see. Okay, that's different.
And you can, they're you know, Nevada's one of my favorite places to hunt. Always has been. You know, I grew up down there, went to junior high. You know, one of my other brothers, another mother down there, Riley Manzoni, he owns Kern Creek Outfitters down there, and we have killed some tremendous game.
That bull you killed 2 years ago was a 400 class?
Yeah.
Yeah.
9x7.
That was a monster.
Yeah. Riley was my spotter on that one. Well, I spotted him, and then Riley set up, and I went around the mountain and ended up shooting that bull with a muzzleloader. Yeah, it was great. But yeah, Nevada, the draw odds are real good, and you know they have an outfitter draw for mule deer there. So if anybody's interested, you know, reach out to Riley or one of the other outfitters over there in Nevada, and they can apply you, and it gives you, I think, a 50% better chance of drawing a mule deer tag because you book with an outfitter.
Current Creek.
Current Creek. Current Creek, yeah. It's named after Current Creek, Nevada, which is in the Railroad Valley, south of Ely. And believe it or not, that was where I started roughnecking.
I'll be
A long
dang.
time ago.
Yeah.
So, Montana application begins March 1st. Deadline is April 1st. Draw results usually released 2 weeks after the deadline. Montana is one of my favorite too.
Oh, yeah.
I love Montana. I hope to draw a tag there this year and I want to hunt with a muzzleloader. They make you use tradition sidecock. It's great fun. It's late December. You get to hunt deer and elk. I think it opens like December 14th. So gets those critters out of the high country, and it's pretty good.
I try to hunt whitetails in Montana at least every other couple of years.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it again this year.
Yeah. Utah application begin March 20th. Deadline is April 24th through May 15th. Results available on May 15th, excuse me. Trying to read this at the same time I'm doing it. So get your applications in, and if you need any help with the applications, we do offer an application service, and we can help them apply for their hunts in most of the western states.
Yeah, and so you're up and running on that. They can find that at saddlehornoutfitters.com.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. They can go on saddlehornoutfitters.com, and we will get the questionnaire filled out for the state they want.
Yep.
And for the animals that they want, and help them put in.
Just curious, do you guys know anybody? I do, who drew an expo tag?
I do not know anybody.
Yeah.
One of my buddy's wives drew a Wasatch elk hunt.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I'll probably help them out on that.
Yeah. And I have a buddy who drew a San Juan elk archery tag.
Yeah,
And,
I need to talk to you about that once that's done. I got enough points to draw a muzzleloader in the Wasatch now.
Okay.
And then I got max points for moose. So if I decide to put in this year, if I got time, I should draw a Utah moose tag.
My buddy drew that at the Hunt Expo when I first finally, in fact, it was Blaine, when I first finally got him to come over. He drew that tag, won a spot and scope and a bunch of other paraphernalia. I've never won anything in 22 years down there.
I got a book cliff tag from there once. I drew a book cliff tag. It was probably 2017. I was too busy drilling oil wells in Texas, and I couldn't get away. Had a bad well going on. I had to stay there. But I actually called Sean Labrum, Wild Mountain Outfitters, and had him scouting. And I called him, and he said, Jesse, the bucks you killed, what I'm seeing, you probably shouldn't worry about it. So.
Yeah, hit and miss there. You know what? I won at the expo several years in a row. Matter of fact, I don't know that I've ever been to the expo and not won a parking ticket from the city of Salt Lake. And they're $70 now, and parking is $40.
Yeah.
So now I know I'm just a songwriter, but it's probably cheaper just to pay for parking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Folks, it's a privilege to introduce Duke Boyington, a mutual friend of mine and Jesse's, and he's from Liberty, Utah. Liberty is in Ogden Valley, which is where much of my roots are from. As a matter of fact, Duke is a good friend of my cousin Keith Hill, who is a lifelong houndsman and like a brother to me, old Keith is. He'll be on the show at some point. And Duke is the operator of Bear Springs CWMU. You and I just met at the CWMU banquet a couple of weeks ago, and I was there with Briggs, kind of representing the new program the CWMU has. Cooperative Wildlife Management Unit is what CWMU stands for. That's a wonderful program here in Utah, offered through landowners and the Division of Wildlife. I'll let you educate these folks a little better on that, but thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Actually, Lance Roylance is the operator. He and I run it together, but he's listed as the operator.
Okay. Yeah, and I met Lance.
Yeah,
Lance
he was there with us.
Yeah. I think his son is a music artist.
He is.
Yeah.
And he's actually got quite a good voice and really good with the guitar.
Yeah.
Somebody I know he was trying to chase you down after I told him that we was talking to you there at the CWMU meeting.
Yeah.
He was down on the floor, and he's like, well, I'd like to meet him. I said, might need to set that up.
Yeah, we'll have to do that. But, yeah. But anyway, you grew up in Ogden Valley?
No, I grew up in Ogden, just off Second Monroe, and my dad was from Manti. My mom was from Ogden Valley there, or from Ogden there.
Yeah. A lot of us Ogdenites are transplants into more rural regions, especially those of us that had roots. I mean, my family's from Eden there, so my Uncle Ray, who you knew, killed in the woodcutting accident in '96, always had a horse for me to ride. Our adventures, which Keith was on so many of those, all of our family vacations were hunting trips, and it was always on Keith to make sure horses and trailers and all that stuff were in order. So that's kind of how I got into this, Those guys were my heroes. But, yeah, how'd you get started in hunting?
Well, I'd gone with a lot of different friends all over different places, Colorado, Wyoming, of course, all over Utah. And just had somebody ask me if I wanted to get into guiding and outfitting, and I did, but, I wasn't sure that I was willing to commit just to that. I've been working in telecommunications, and that company got in a little trouble with the stock exchange, so they kind of got shut down. I ended up starting guiding that year, and I've been doing it ever since.
Wow.
So I've been in for about 25 years now.
Yeah. Interesting, yeah. What kind of critters do you guys...
We do elk, deer, moose, mountain lion,
Yeah. What's your favorite?
I love the challenge of bighorn sheep because it takes a lot of effort to get up there to them. I love the rituals of the elk.
Yeah.
I love the sounds. I love the, like I said, just the uniqueness of what they do in the rut. And I've never been so intimidated as I was when I had a bull elk on one side of the tree and me standing on the other, and that was the only thing between us. And he had more blood in his eyes than anybody I've ever come across.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. I like to hunt elk only if Jesse is off work and has his horses loaded.
Yeah, Duke is going to come do some guiding with me this year, I think, and in the future. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Are you a horse guy? You into packing and?
I've done all that. I love to do it. I've done some with Keith, and I used to have horses. I don't have them any longer.
Yeah.
Used to ride in the sheriff's posse, doing supposedly search and rescue. We really didn't end up getting to do a lot of it, but I love horses.
You had a story for us about your first hunt with your dad down in San Pete County.
Yeah, so my dad first took me when I was 3, and, I'd sit on the hillside with my cousins and would throw apples at each other more than we worried about hunting. And then when I was 5, I saw some deer, and I went chasing them. And the next thing I know, my dad's picking me up by the back of the pants, asking me where I'm going. And I says, well, I'm going to catch the deer for you. And he says, well, I can't shoot him if you're in the way.
Yeah.
So.
That's a great story, yeah.
Yeah.
You've been dedicated then from the get-go.
Oh, hunting is my passion.
Yeah.
Being out there on the mountain, just enjoying the different species of animals and the challenges each one brings is a life well lived, I think, being able to chase them.
We'll have a lot of viewers who won't know what the CWMU program is, and
So basically, the Cooperative Wildlife Management Unit, or the CWMU, is designed to give the public an opportunity to hunt private land that they otherwise would not have that opportunity.
Yeah.
And so they come up with the program, and basically the state gives the CWMU so many tags. For a percentage of those tags, some go back into the state draw. And the state hunters draw them, and they get to come hunt the property just like the paid hunters or the CWMU hunters do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an
awesome program.
Yeah, yeah, and I know part of the challenge here in Utah is that we do, especially in northern Utah, is we do have so much private ground around us, and that's a way for the public to access the public resource. And I know I've got a lot of friends through the years, they've had really successful hunts and would turn around and say, hey, those hunts were as good to me as they were their clients.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell them a little bit about the program that Briggs was a part of, my son was a part of this year.
So the CWMUs, a lot of times they have leftover tags that they don't use because for several different reasons, there's not enough animals on the property of that particular species or so forth. And so the CWMU gets to donate them back into a program that basically provides like Make-A-Wish type of hunting opportunities for different individuals, and it's just a great program and a great way for the CWMU operators to give back. And a lot of them would love to even spend more time and give more hunts back into the program.
Yeah. And Briggs and I were, of course, there to kind of represent that program because Briggs got one of those tags last year. They played this video of all of these hunts, or a lot of them, and these are wounded vets, disabled folks. Some of them are look to me like folks that were into their latter part of they were old guys who maybe won't draw a tag, and I was looking, the first time running through this video, I was looking at all these critters because I always look at horns. But the second time, I was looking at the smiles of these people. And, that's a priceless video.
It truly is, and the opportunity as a guide, as an outfitter, to share these moments with these people. I always say I've had more blessed opportunities on the mountains with people crying, that.
Tears of joy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And filling a lifelong dream for them that doesn't happen all the time, But yeah, it's a special thing, and the more we can do to give back, the better.
I agree. I've had some good chances to guide some of the folks too, and hunt of a lifetime, stuff like that, and it was great. That's what it's all about, right there.
Yeah. I was going to say, Jesse's that kind of outfitter and hunter himself. We talk about the stages of hunting.
Yep.
I want one, I want a lot of one, a trophy one. Now I want to help people get one. And I just don't know. I think once you get through to that point, and especially, for me, Briggs is my son, and he sat, taking cancer treatment for years, and hunting was the only way out of that, in his mind. He's just planning these hunts just to get himself out of and now we're living them, but I can't, I don't care to hunt anymore. I just love to watch that kid.
And
yeah.
I am the same way. It's not about me going out and taking an animal.
Yeah.
It's me helping somebody else, and it was fun when, watching Briggs and watching his smiles as he's watching the videos and stuff. And afterwards, after we had sat and talked with you and him, we were leaving, Lance and I was talking, and we were like, man, we were hoping that we won because we wanted to give that to Briggs.
Oh man, yeah.
You know, and then he said, Lance was saying, well, and then I thought, well, maybe I want the pack, but I'll trade him a turkey hunt for that. You know,
right.
and I said, well, let's give him a turkey hunt anyway. You know,
yeah.
so
Yeah, you know, this year, you know, I'm working on that deal with Brigadier General Denton Moore, and we're going to give a couple of hunts away for bear hunt. You know, we've been working on this for a while, so if any of the folks out there, you know some soldiers, warriors that want to come, you know, I'm going to give 2 hunts away to some warriors and a family member or a couple of friends in Idaho, and you know, they can bring somebody with them, and hopefully you're going to be there to.
Yeah, we're gonna have a little campfire concert, I think.
Yeah, I think we are. Yeah, it's going to be good, but we're definitely, you know, going to put that on every year. So we need some folks to reach out. You know, if they got somebody that's got a warrior or.
I have several opportunities with people that run organizations and so forth that, you know, I could probably work with you on that.
Yeah,
well.
we need. I'd like to really get that improved, and that's one of my goals.
Yeah.
To get, you know, a couple of hunts a year to, you know, disabled first responders or vets, you know, and.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we're not here doing this because somebody didn't protect our rights to give us that opportunity.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And continually protect it. Duke, in your professional life also, you help folks find investment properties and particularly folks that are looking for an opportunity to buy a hunting ground.
Yeah, we, you know, I'm an agent for St. James Sporting Properties. So we sell from New Mexico up to the Canadian border and from Utah over to Kansas.
Wow.
And, you know, we spend a lot of time putting trail cams out on these properties and documenting the wildlife and so forth. And then that shows what the property has to offer to some degree. And, you know, and then we try and line up different levels of clients, it doesn't matter, and help them find a dream.
Yeah. Yeah. That's got to be just extremely rewarding also.
It is, you know, I've worked many jobs throughout my life and various occupations that most people wouldn't think I'd ever have been a part of, but being outdoors is what I love.
Yeah.
You know, and being able to watch these animals and spend time, you know, and then educating people on the property and what it has to offer and why it has to offer, or a way to improve the property.
Yeah.
To give them even more opportunity.
Yeah.
It's great work.
Yeah. You know, think about, you know, our buddy Ken Clegg, who's the biologist for the CWMU program, and, you know, the work that he does. I just, you know, I look at places like Deseret Land and Livestock and Ensign, you know, and the surrounding properties, you know, as places that have done so much for our wildlife populations. And, you know, we're looking for mule deer to bounce back from this winter of a couple of years ago where we lost 85-90% of the critters. You know, the fact that we have these large tracts of private ground that are managing populations of wildlife and, you know, potentially, you know, in some degree limiting hunting pressure, but at the same time, you know, working for, you know, better objectives in the future. I think that's a huge, I don't know, we benefit from that an awful lot, especially here in Utah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really do. And, you know, again, you know, as fast as Utah's growing and so forth, you know, trying to help protect some of these bigger tracts of land that do, you know, spend a lot of time and a lot of money. And there's a lot of money that's involved in the habitat improvement and so forth, and controlling different aspects of it and maintaining them through the hard winters, like you said, trying to help the animals out. That's a big undertaking.
Yeah, yeah. What, most of the folks that are reaching out to you, are they passionate about hunting? Are they?
It's a combination. Most of ours is hunting and fishing, but I have a lot of people that are looking for farming properties as well, which is, a big portion of the properties that we have has a farming aspect to it. But Utah being one of the drier states in the country, a lot of their farming doesn't produce the revenue that a lot of states do. In the West, in the Midwest, and that they tend to have a little bit more revenue return.
Yeah, I guess the fear that I have is some of these places are going to get purchased by somebody from one of the coasts or some from a different walk of life that maybe doesn't have the passion for agriculture, maybe doesn't have the passion for hunting, and these places get closed up. So, to have somebody like you doing what you're doing and kind of marketing to our community, I think is really great work.
Yeah, and all of our agents are extreme outdoorsmen as well. They're either biologists or work professionally in the hunting industry or just have an extreme passion for it.
Yeah.
And that goes a long ways in being able to educate the potential buyer or seller, because a lot of it is educating the seller the difference the recreational opportunity brings and value to a property that most people don't understand, especially if they're not hunters themselves.
Yeah. What's the biggest challenges that you see going forward for this world that you operate in? We can sell the property, but we don't control who buys it. Yeah.
And I think getting the public and people to understand the resource that needs to be protected. I read stories about the farmers and how many farmers and ranchers we're losing every year, and that bothers me. It worries me. And I try not to worry about a lot of things. I recognize a lot of things, but I try not to worry about them. But that's something that does worry me because of our food, of our, just our natural resources that for people to even be able to enjoy, whether they're hunting or fishing or not, just to be able to be out there and be a part of it and see the beauty. There's very few places, if any, that you're going to be closer to God.
Amen. Yeah. Right.
And for me, that's where I go to have my peace.
Yeah.
Is in the mountains.
Yeah.
Me as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I have a co-written song actually with my cousin Keith that I think I better cue up and play for us. It's called "If I Was the Devil."
Yeah, he told me that it was interesting because I had talked to Keith, and he says, Duke, I was talking. I sat down and I wrote a poem after being on the mountain the other day, and he said, and I sent it over to Bren, and he calls me up about 4 hours later and tells me he's turned it into a song.
Yeah.
So it'd be cool to hear that.
He sent that to me, and I was in the best place in the world for you to send that to me, brother. When you sent it to me that day, I was driving through Ennis, Montana, on my way to the Madison Valley.
Yeah, one of my favorite places.
That place is just blowing up.
Oh, yeah.
You drive north out of Ennis now, and there's just industrial park and apartments, and it's so for me it was ironic that you sent me that rough cut of that song right in that spot.
Yeah, one of our agents just moved from Utah up to Pony, which is just outside of Ennis there, and he loves it over there.
And the elk migration there. You want to see a herd of elk? Just drive that road between, Island Park or down to Ennis, in the fall of the year, November, those elk migrate out of Yellowstone over there. There are so many elk; it is unreal.
Yeah.
The amount of elk.
Well, I'm looking
Thousands
forward
and
to us
thousands.
spending a lot of time up there this year.
It's
It's ironic that I would, I think it's appropriate. This record that I'm working on right now is called "The West That Money Couldn't Buy," and essentially it's kind of along those same lines. It's I wouldn't say that I'm anti-development. I know people got to have a place to live, and I don't blame anybody who wants to live in the West. It's the only place that I could. I mean, the world that I've been to so far, this is the only place I could live is anywhere west.
Yeah.
And I don't blame anybody for wanting to do that. I think it's, it's just making sure there's smart growth. And, ironically, that song fits for what you guys do. And you're in the realty business, in the land business, because I think what you are doing is kind of protecting these pieces of land that are so vital to conservation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's our hope, and and that's what we try and do. But again, it's a blessed opportunity, is the way I look at it.
Yeah. How do folks get in touch with you?
So my cell number is 801-710-0623, or they can go to the St. James Sporting Properties website and connect with us through there.
All right.
We spend a lot of time early in the year going to the trade shows. So this year I went to Atlanta for a Dallas Safari Club show, which was challenging to say the least.
Yeah.
Then the SCI show, the Reno Wild Sheep show, and the Western Hunting Conservation show. Yeah. And that was one we just finished. That was one there where you and I sat and watched the CWMU videos. So they're all great venues, and they do a lot to put money back into protecting wildlife and helping us with our lands too.
Yeah. And if folks want to apply, I know coming up here in Utah, non-residents can apply in more than one special limited entry species, if I remember right, here in Utah.
So the non-residents, they can apply for all the once in a lifetime and the deer, elk, and antelope, which the residents don't get that opportunity.
Yeah, we got to pick a species. Yep.
And then the residents, only the residents get to apply for the CWMU tax.
All right. So if you're a resident of the state of Utah, you want to know more about the CWMU program, I believe there is a website.
Yes, there is a website for it, or they can link off of the Utah DWR website.
All right. And so, save your bonus points. CWMU hunts are great. If you're a public hunter, you get the opportunity to go onto private land. Be respectful. You can never be too respectful on private land.
You cannot.
Yeah.
You cannot. And, and that's just hunting general. I'm truly passionate about giving back and protecting the land. And I know when I was running spike camp and stuff, I would always tell the hunters that if they didn't want to pack their garbage out, to give it to their guide, because their guide will pack it out.
Right. Yeah.
leave no trace.
Exactly.
Yeah. And, if the gate is closed, close it behind you. And if it's open, you should have asked the landowner in the morning before you left if he wants it open or closed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You should be writing a song about that.
Yeah,
He's got one. A little bit about that.
Yeah. No, we have to be the good guys, and we are guests in this CWMU program. It's just such a positive thing, to open these properties to the public. And, I think if I recall, the DWR representative there said there's somewhere around 50,000 opportunities that have been offered through the CWMU program?
It's amazing how many have been, and if you really stopped and did the research, I don't recall exactly what it is, but the amount is incredible. And the success rate is very high. Not necessarily in the animals that are taken, but the opportunities of, are pretty much 100%, I'd guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah. Anything else you'd like to share with these folks, Duke?
Get out there and spend some time on the mountains, and thank God for the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, amen.
Amen.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's been a wonderful opportunity to share some stories with you guys and learn more about what you guys have going on, and the opportunity to share what we do.
Well, we'll be here for a while, so we'll have you back sometime. And thanks again to Duke Boyington. And be sure to look him up if you are in the market for hunting property here in the West. I recommend it. And hopefully you are pro hunter if you're about to buy a piece of ground, because there is no better tool, in my opinion, to conserve and perpetuate that resource for generations to come. This is In the Wild Outdoors. I'm co-host Bryn Hill. It's my brother from another mother, Jesse Tatman of Saddlehorn Outfitters. Like and subscribe to our channel. Go to brynhill.com to learn more about my music, and go to
inthewildoutdoors.com and drop us a message and share your hunting stories. If you have any recommendations for people you'd like to hear from or anything, any subjects, whatever. And that's all we got for now, folks.
Go to saddlehornoutfitters.com. This is me plugging you now. Go to saddlehornoutfitters.com to learn how to book a real Western backcountry hunt with Jesse Tatman and his team of guides. Yep. Wanted to I had to slide that.
Yeah. I just got licensed in Wyoming the other day. I got big license number GD375.
How many total acres do you have as a public land outfitter?
It's about... it's with everything that I have is about 7 million public land.
Folks, you'll never see the end of that. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. See you next time.